All right, we're live. Um, okay. So, welcome everybody. This is Shift the Journey. I'm your host, Tito Amogus, back again. I don't know where I would have been. This is my home, so whatever. Anyway, if you joined last week, then you know what this is all about. If you didn't join last week, I'll tell you what this is all about. So, I have a passion to help people out finding their way to whatever career it is from whatever career they started in. I myself am a career shifter. I started out in unemployment really in my early 20s, and then I joined the Air Force. And I served in the Air Force for 20 years and then retired in 2015. My last position in the Air Force was like a data analyst position. And and so then I wanted to find something like that on the outside, and I found a job as a BI developer, and I've been in that path for 8 years, 8+ years now. All right, so let's see. Last week we had Michael Norman on. He talked about his journey from the Army to data engineering. This week we have Michelle Davis. Woo!
Hi.
I think last week I said I was going to have like sound effects. I don't have sound effects, so let's pretend and just clap. But Michelle served in the Air Force, and she is an instructor at a base local to here. I'm not going to call it out because I don't know. Maybe I don't. Maybe you have like creepers or whatever following you, but
We hope not.
yeah, we hope not. But yeah, I'm just going to ask you some questions based around like the premise of like three main questions, right? The three main questions are like what did you do before? What do you do now? And then like something that you're involved in that's unique or interesting, exciting for you. It may not be exciting for everybody, but it's exciting for you, and that's enough, right? And then the last thing would be like just something you're passionate about. So you can go ahead and start with like just tell us where you're from. I know where you're from, but tell everybody else where you're from.
So I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana on the West Bank, and I joined the Air Force right out of high school. So I had a couple of jobs as a teenager here and there, but I would say my first real career was the Air Force. And I did that for 22 years. I retired in 2020, and I spent all 22 years of that as an aviation resource manager, which
What?
basically means that you do data entry and you
Oh,
put in training time and flight time for the pilots, and you do all the data entry that goes along with pilots and airplanes.
here's one thing I have to bring it up. I have to bring it up because people I work with have often talked about the city that you're from, and I always have to correct them. They always say New Orleans. I'm like, please stop saying that. Please stop saying that.
Please,
Please
yes.
say it how you say it. Say it.
New Orleans.
Yes, thank you. New Orleans, right. Yeah, when people say New Orleans, I like stop in the middle of the call. I'm like, please stop. Stop. Don't say it like
Or
that.
Nolans, that one kinda grates on me a little bit. That's how we know people are not from there.
Right. Oh man. So where all have you been stationed other than here?
So, my first duty station was Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho. Then I PCSed after being there for about 18 to 20 months to Beale Air Force Base in California, where I met my
Cool.
husband. And then I left Beale and we went to Little Rock Air Force Base in Arkansas, and I was there for 5 years. Then we moved from Little Rock to the place where I currently live. And then when we left this place, we went to Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, Japan, and we spent 4 years there.
Oh, how
Then we
was that?
moved to Yokota Air Base, Japan, after that. And then Luke Air Force Base, Arizona was my last base where I retired.
Oh, that's right. I remember that now. Which one did you like better, Kadena or Yokota?
Yokota, 1,000 times better
Why?
because it's in the city. It's not isolated. You can get on the train. Tokyo is so large that you're actually in Tokyo on the base, and you can go take a train to get dinner in Tokyo
Oh,
if you
man,
want.
that sounds cool.
So it was
That
pretty
sounds
amazing.
real cool. So I forgot, I wanted to show these pictures. Like, I met Michelle, let's see, share screen, dun, dun, dun. I feel like everything, like, post-COVID was like, it's all either, "Hey, can you hear me?" Or, "Can you see my screen? Can you see
Yes,
my
it is.
screen?"
Yes, we
So,
can.
I'm
Woohoo!
I met Michelle in 2010, yeah, 2010, however you wanna say it. We were in NCO Academy, Non-Commissioned Officers Academy, and so I actually stole these pictures from her Facebook. I don't know where you are in this. I
I'm
don't see
taking the
you. I
picture
know. Oh, well, that makes sense, and
because I
that's
was the
me,
photo person.
I was the guidon bearer, so that's why,
Yeah.
let's see. Here's, here's a better picture. My question here is like, what are we doing outside not wearing hats? That's like against regulation, right? But,
It is.
we looked very unhappy. They told us not to smile, I think.
So, are you talking about the photo from Matthews Hall
Oh, yeah. Why is it not showing? Hang on.
showing the formation photo?
Yeah, hang on. Let's do this again. Share screen. I should have put in a slideshow. Window, entire screen. There it is. How about now?
Yes.
Okay, there's that. Yeah, this one. We're all out there. We're not wearing hats. It's like, oh, that's weird.
No, I think they told us to take our hats off, and I don't
Yeah.
feel like we were very happy about that because I remember thinking, "I won't be able to have my eyes open. The sun is right in my eyes."
What's funny to me is that like it was that time of transition for like uniforms. Some people have the green boots, and some people like me have desert
Yes.
boots.
Yes.
That's so weird. And then
That is
this
funny.
guy, I can't
Yes!
remember his name, but this was
Mark
our
Jagle.
instructor. What was it?
Mark Jagle.
Jagle.
He
He
still
was
works in the same area as me,
wow. Does
as
he
a civilian.
recognize you from being in his flight?
No, of course not.
Oh, that's funny. Here's another picture. There you are right there, I think, right? That's you in the back?
Yep, that's me in the back, yep,
Yeah. Let's see. We got a couple more pictures, and then there's the close up. Who is
yep.
taking pictures?
I don't know, the other photo person
And then I
in the
decided
flight.
since it's all these pictures of you, I was like, this is from that like graduation night or whatever.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I use this picture as my profile picture during like Veterans Day.
Oh, right. The token
Good
uniform
times.
picture that we
Yeah,
all
good
have, right?
times. Good times. Oh man. All right. So what's so you're talking about aviation resource management. Was that not something you wanted to do when you got out?
So, I actually thought about it because there are civilians at Luke that do aviation resource management, and I went to talk to the commander that was in charge of that unit and, basically gave him all my experience, told them I had 22 years, and he said, "Well, I'm gonna be real upfront with you. I would love to give you the job, but I wanna tell you right now that I can't for sure guarantee you that this unit will always be in Phoenix.
Oh.
We're looking to move to the Tucson area in the next 2 years."
Hmm.
And I was like, I don't think I
Yeah.
wanna live in Tucson."
Why? What's wrong with Tucson?
Nothing, I just didn't know anything about it, I'd never been there,
Yeah.
so
I figure I don't know. I've only driven through Arizona. I haven't really ever stayed there, and I feel like it's all just it looks like Arizona to me. I don't know.
I really love the weather of Arizona. I wish I could bring the weather of Arizona to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Could I
Oh
have
yeah.
that? Because I want my cake and I want to eat it too, right?
No, I need some humidity. I feel like I'll crack up and fall apart. Like
Yeah,
I grew up not too far from Arizona. I mean, I grew up in Southern California, and where I was, it was dry and like
yes.
120 degrees in the summertime, and I'm okay without that. I don't like to be thirsty all the time. It's like I'm thirsty. I keep drinking. I'm still thirsty, and then like I when I moved to Mississippi in 2009, I came with a bottle of lotion, and I left 5.5 years later with the same bottle of lotion because you don't use lotion here. This is too humid.
That is true. That is true. Yes.
All right. So, when was your first instructor gig?
From 2007 to 2011,
Yeah. Where was that? Where were you stationed?
I was at Keesler.
Oh, okay. And then what were you teaching then?
I was teaching the aviation resource management career field.
Oh, wow. Was that fun? Did you enjoy that?
I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I
Was the
did.
be- was the best part of that?
I think being able to, because our course was pretty short, it was
Hmm.
about 6 weeks then,
Yeah.
and being able to take an airman from zero military knowledge to their graduation day 6 weeks later.
Hmm.
And it was so satisfying to me to think I taught them everything they know about being an aviation resource manager.
Right. Yeah.
So satisfying.
Wow. Wow. And then so you went back to your career field after that, huh?
I did, yes.
Did you feel like you had a better grasp of things, or was it like, oh, here we go again? What was it?
Well, I did feel like I had a better grasp. I also felt like it was like the timing for me was perfect because of how like the promotions ended up happening.
Oh yeah.
So in a 3-year span of time, I got to Keesler as a staff sergeant
Mhm.
and I left as a master select.
Oh my gosh.
So it's crazy how that all played out,
Yeah.
but it ended up being that once I got to Kadena, I actually deployed my last 7.5 months at
Mhm.
Keesler while I was on instructor duty. They deployed me to the Philippines.
Yeah. Okay. So, hang on one second. So last week, Michael was talking about his deployments, and he talked about stopping in Kuwait and all these different things. And I was like, okay, time out. I just want to ask you a question. I said, what's the hottest place you've ever been? And like all these things, he tells a story, and then it's like Kuwait. And I'm like, definitely Kuwait, right? I
Right.
was deployed 5 times to Qatar, and we went through Kuwait at like 3 o'clock in the morning. This is the hottest place I've ever been. And I'm like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh. And then I actually brought up something that you said. I said, oh, I have a friend who's from New Orleans, and she was deployed to the Philippines. She said it was the hottest place that she's ever been. I was like, maybe she's never been to the Middle East because, dude, the Middle East is a lot hotter.
Okay, so I have been deployed to Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia
Okay. Was that
during the
hotter?
summer.
Was that hotter than Zamboanga?
No, Zamboanga was hotter
There's no
because
way.
it's humid and
It
it's
has
closer to
to.
the equator.
It had to have been like the time. I don't know. I've never been to Zamboanga, but like I've been to like Luzon and Cebu, and but
Mhm.
it just the Philippines didn't feel as hot to me as Kuwait did. I was like, I mean, 3 o'clock in the morning, I got off the plane and I was like, I want to get back on the plane. This is terrible.
Well,
It's
and I
hard to
think
breathe.
too, a lot of it might be the fact that, like what we just talked about, the desert versus
Yeah,
humidity. Because when you
yeah.
have humidity, it's not as bad.
I don't know. Uh, Qatar was like Qatar. I can't ever say it right. I don't know. It was humid there, and then sometimes it was not humid, and so it just
Mm,
depends like where the breeze is coming from, or if you even have a breeze,
right,
because it's right on the Gulf. But anyway,
right.
okay, back to the back to the conversation. When was it? Like when you were getting out. So, a question about like transitioning out of the military, going into like civilian life. When did you know what you wanted to do, like to do for a living when you got out?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at all
Mhm.
because I did skill bridge
Oh, okay.
for my last 6 months in the military, and I did skill bridge with the Boeing company, and I worked in their HR department, and while it was a great bridge to a civilian opportunity, I just didn't see myself working in HR. Like, that was the
Mhm.
closest thing kind of that they could connect with the skills that I had, and so I ended up reviewing resumes for them and talking people through pre-interviews on the phone and that type of stuff for 6
Right.
months, and of course, that
Yeah.
was during COVID, and
Okay.
then once I retired effective 1 July, I actually already had a job in the civilian community where we lived, but I it was not structured enough for me,
Mm. Yeah.
and that's when I realized, I think I need to get back to government work because I don't think this is gonna work for me.
Yeah, I mean, so 22 years, right? You're safe to say you're institutionalized?
Have drank all the blue Kool-Aid.
Oh man, I don't know. If I had been a master sergeant, I thought, would I have stayed in longer? I think the answer for me would have been no, because at like 364 days out, I went and I hit the blue button, boop, eject. 364 days out. And like my boss was like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Oh,
I'm ready
yeah.
to go.
I've been
I
planning
am
this for
ready."
years. Right,
Yeah, I was
right.
ready. Oh man. So when you figured out you wanted to go back to work for the government, what made you what made you choose like instructor?
So, I actually applied for a bunch of different jobs at Keesler. I
Yeah.
think I ended up applying for somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 different jobs.
Oh my gosh.
And about the 30 resume mark, I actually got an offer to teach finance, but we did not yet live in the Gulf Coast area. We still lived in Arizona. And
Oh.
so I called them and said, I really want to take the job, but I don't think that the timing is going to work out.
Yeah.
And so I had retired in July of 20. Then January of 21 is when that offer came,
Yeah.
and I turned it down, which I learned later you never do with government work, because
Really?
if you turn it down, you might get put on a list somewhere. I don't know.
Really?
It could
Huh.
happen.
Wow.
So, it took from January until October of 21 for me to get another offer.
Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah, and so I got an offer in October to teach the administration course for the
Mhm.
Air Force, and I did that for 11 months, and
Uh-huh.
then I was like, "You know what? I see bigger things for me, so I wanna go teach for faculty development."
So when you were go back to your when you were like putting in applications,
Mhm.
were you just like indiscriminately applying? It's like I will hand out
No,
basketballs at the gym.
no,
No, I know
no.
people who have. They're like, I'll hand out
Yes,
basketballs at the gym. I
yes.
will serve food at the DFAC.
Yeah.
Um,
I was applying for any administrative type job I thought I could do, so, like,
okay.
registrar, which is what I did in my first civilian job out of the
Mhm.
military. I worked as a registrar for a private school, a charter school in Arizona.
Mhm.
And then when that didn't work out, I was like, I probably need to go back to government work. So I did apply for every admin type, secretarial work, unit program coordinator, instructor, anything you could think of.
Yeah.
And then the administrative position to teach admin instructor came open. And like I said, I did that for 11 months.
What was the hardest part of your transition?
Thinking that I had to have a job when I got out. Like, I had a job lined up before my terminal was over.
Mm.
And not because I needed it financially,
Mhm.
but because I needed to be needed somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, I was jobless for like 6 months, and I put in applications not indiscriminately, but any kind
Right.
of pretty much any kind of job that had like analyst or some kind of data something, right?
Mhm.
101. I put in 101 applications. I got like 6 interviews and I got 2 offers at the end of that. It was from the 100th and 101st applications that I put in. And I chose one. I was like, probably this is probably a good way to go. And yeah, it was like, whew. But for me, the parts that were difficult were probably um I was like, man, I don't want no structure. But it's like, oh, I think I need some structure.
Right.
Part of it was like, what did I wear yesterday? I'm not sure, and I don't want to look like I slept in my clothes. And it's like freak out. I had a meltdown because I couldn't remember what I wore. Like
It's funny that you say
yeah,
that because when you wear a uniform for 22 years and you don't think about what you have to wear, I actually started when I was with Boeing putting out my clothes the night before,
yeah.
and that, like, blew my mind that I had to do that.
Yes. Yep.
Like, just setting out clothes the night before so then I can just jump in it and not have to make a decision in the morning. It's such a
Yeah.
time saver.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do that now, but I work from home, so it's like pajama pants, polo, pajama
Right.
pants, polo.
That's awesome.
It's not pajama pants every day though. It's like sweats, polo,
Right.
jogger, polo, pajama pants, polo.
That's
For the
awesome.
most part. Oh man. So what year did you finally move back here?
In 2021, we came in October of 20 to kind of figure out where we wanted to live.
Mhm.
And then by January 31st, we were here. And it was all, again, another timing thing. I never planned to purchase a new home,
Yeah.
but it was the perfect timing because
Mhm.
the house was going to be finished on March 1st.
Oh my gosh.
So we stayed
Nice.
in an Airbnb for 30 days.
Mhm.
And on March 1st, we signed for the keys to this house.
Wow.
So,
Nice. Yeah, we lived in a motorhome. Well, like a fifth wheel
mhm.
trailer parked. It was my in-laws, and we were parked next to their house. So we got to visit with them all the time, and it was low rent. It was great. The only thing that
Yeah,
was not great, it was probably the internet speed. It was terrible, but I had a
right.
little hotspot, and I would switch to the hotspot when I had a Zoom call. Um, so when you decided you wanted to teach the faculty, how did you go
Mhm.
about doing that? Were you like networking? Did you have to apply
Oh,
first
I
or
yes, so I did have to apply,
go sing
and
the national anthem some places?
I did not have to sing the national anthem. However, so I tell you, timing, I don't know, God's providence, me
Mm,
being at the right place at the right time, I don't
yep,
know. But
yep.
so I actually the person that I wanted to work for training in the training development element, who was going to be my boss, was actually also in the same career field as me when he was active duty, and he was my 9-level instructor.
Okay.
And so I just went over to his office one day and said, "Hey, the next time you guys have any openings for BIC, I want to be considered."
Wow.
And he said, that might be sooner than you think. Let's walk downstairs and
Oh,
talk to my boss."
wow.
And I was like, "Is this real life? Is this really happening?" And we walked downstairs and talked to his boss. And I said, "Next time you have an opening, I'd like to be considered." And not long after that, they had an opening and I applied and obviously interviewed and got the job. So,
Wow. That's nuts.
yeah.
Man. So how many jobs did you have between your job now and when you retired from the Air Force?
This is the third job. Third time's a
Yeah.
charm.
Third time's a charm. Yeah. Sounds good. Wow. Yeah. You just you said something about you were working for a as like a registrar. Is that when you
Yes.
decided that you wanted more structure?
Yes. So I was working for a charter school in Arizona and as a registrar registering students. And it's, administrative type work where you're certifying, yes, this is the child's birth certificate and these are the parents and this is their light bill and they do live at this address and they can come to this school and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it's administrivia and paperwork and it's fine.
It is trivia. That's
My
great.
husband actually also worked at the same school. Um, for we like worked together there for a month before he took a job somewhere else. And he was like, "You're gonna love it. It's gonna be the best thing ever." And when I got there, I was like, "I'm not really sure that these ladies are cut from the same cloth I'm cut from."
Oh. Oh no.
And so it was just one of those situations where it was like, "Why are you guys asking me how to do stuff and I'm the newest person on the block?"
Oh no.
Is it because I look confident? Is it because I portray like I know what I'm doing and I know what's going on? And I was like, this isn't gonna work for me."
Oh man.
So, and then my husband had taken a job somewhere else, and so of course it was COVID. My son was at home doing homeschool,
Hmm.
but he was in public school. Like they sent all the kids home with laptops and said, "You'll meet your teacher at this time." And then the teacher would either not show or not do a Zoom, or
So crazy. That's such a
maybe my
weird
kid was
time.
late. I don't know. Like maybe my kid was late, but I don't know. I wasn't there to catch him because I was at work. So,
Yeah.
you know, there were
Wow.
all those things. And so I was like, yeah, the structure isn't going to work. The timing with my husband taking a job just leaves me as a single parent at home trying to parent 2 kids. And so I was like, I need to go get closer to my family.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, I made the decision like 1 October that we were going to move.
Mhm.
And by the end of October, we had taken our trip here. And by like 31 January, we were here
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm not messing around. Which, another story of Providence, we sold our house in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yep. That happened with us too. Like when we left Nashville, we were like, yeah, we're probably gonna leave, to move back to the Gulf Coast, like Labor Day or something weekend, right?
Mhm.
And we talked to a friend of ours from church who is our realtor. And she's like, it'd be better if you get your house on the market before June. And so we're like, sweet, we have 3 weeks. So our friends, we had some friends who came up. My in-laws came up. We cleaned out the house. We re, fixed things here and there and got out of there in 3 weeks. And then the house went on the market on a Friday night, and then we had like 3 offers on Sunday. And then we sold the house. Somebody bought it for like cash. We're like, sick. That was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah.
It is bananas. I keep saying that I'm gonna start writing these things that have happened to me and the chances we've taken
Oh
and
yeah.
all the
Oh
craziness.
yeah.
I'm gonna write a book and it's gonna be called Leaps of Faith because
Yeah.
the
Oh
guy that
yeah.
actually sold my house was my pool guy who
Oh
also had a
wow.
realtor's license.
Wow.
Like, you can't make that stuff up.
Yeah. Well, the people who bought our house in Tennessee, the husband was a worship leader. He's a worship pastor. And then he's like, so we actually got on a video call after we like closed 40 days, right? Cash. And so it was pretty crazy, just talking through like faith and family and all that,
Right.
on the call. It was nuts. It was just nuts. I was like, what? And so it was very interesting. Um, so um I want to ask you about like what is the most, I don't know, I guess what's the most unique thing or something interesting that you're involved in now? And it doesn't even have to be like work related, just in general. What's some
So recently, about a year ago, I joined a Mardi Gras walking crew.
really?
Yes,
What?
it's called Crew de Fleur, and we dress up as flowers and walk in Mardi Gras parades.
Are you kidding? That's crazy.
I'm not
What's
kidding you. And all of our costumes are handmade.
Oh wow. Wow. That's interesting. That is
Yes,
very interesting. That is very unique. And like to people who don't live down here, like they don't know, it's like a whole culture
yes.
from New Orleans to Mobile. It's a whole culture. Well, even
Don't
further
ever
than
ask.
Mobile.
Don't ever ask who was first, because that'll just start a
Oh,
war.
that's not a good topic. Like you don't talk
Right.
about that stuff. You just
Right.
like starting fights. Stop it! You're starting fights. Yeah,
Right.
no, that's not good. But it was all like French territory. You know,
Hmm.
early 1699 is when the Lemoyne brothers landed in Bay St. Louis. What's Bay St. Louis now? Um, so I don't know. I can talk about that stuff all day because I love history, but I don't know that anybody else people would be like, yeah, I'm gonna stop this. I'm not gonna watch this anymore. So, like, how often you guys get together?
So we actually meet throughout the year because it's
Mhm.
a whole year-long project. So the costume that I'm wearing this year in Mardi Gras, we started making in July of
Oh,
last year,
wow. Wow.
because it's handmade. So
You guys walk, you don't, like, ride on those crazy buses that I see with, like, half the top cut off and, like, humongous speakers, and they're, like,
no, we
blasting that.
walk in between, like in between the floats.
Oh, wow.
We walk in our costume.
Wow. How'd you get involved in that? Like, what brought you there?
So I have a first cousin of mine who paints Mardi Gras floats for a living in New Orleans and in Slidell.
That's a
And
thing for a living? Oh my
yes,
gosh. That's nuts.
yeah. And she joined the crew first.
Mhm.
She's been a part of it for a few years. And as they were trying to add to their numbers a couple years ago, she said, "Oh, I think you could be just as creative as I am." And I'm like, "There's first of all, there's no way because you're way more creative than me. And number two, you paint for a living. I don't want to have to like live up to that." And then she was like, "No, no, no, it's not like that. We will get everybody together and help you put the costume together. So we pay the dues in the summer, we get our supplies, and we basically have these craft days where we come together and we either meet in New Orleans or in Slidell, and it's a room full of women just putting costumes together, painting, gluing, glittering, bedazzling, putting lights on, all the things."
Wow. That's so interesting. I never think about that. Like, So then it's basically like you have this club, you have this exclusive club, and
Yeah, and it's a creative outlet.
yeah,
I think it's really cool because they don't encourage like the traditional Mardi Gras throws that you would think like a bead or plastic, anything. So since we're flowers, we carry seed packets and we call them
oh,
seeds as beads. And
oh,
so we hand them out and you can actually plant our seeds and
yeah,
make flowers from
nice,
them.
nice.
And it's just a good creative outlet, I think.
Yeah, creative outlet is important for a creative. Have you been singing anywhere?
Just in the shower.
For people who don't know, Michelle was singing the national anthem. We tried to sing the national anthem as a duet for NCO Academy, and I was still kind of new to being in front of people, and I guess they didn't like how I was like swaying and stuff. You like shouldn't be moving while you're singing, and and then I was so disappointed. I was sad. I was like,
Oh.
oh, they said no, and they picked somebody who I thought was like terrible. She did terribly, but it's fine. She sang for graduation, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, she did. She did good. It was fine. It was fine, but it would have been better as a duet. I guarantee you. Guarantee you. Wow.
We'll put it on the calendar. We'll do it some other time.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. I'm retired. I haven't done that since no, I was gonna say I haven't done that since I was in, but no, I actually when we were in Nashville, there's a barbecue place like owned and operated by veterans. Is it Mission Barbecue? And they usually have somebody for like Veterans Day. They get somebody who's a veteran to sing the national anthem.
Oh,
You
that's cool.
stand on the back of a deuce and a half, and there's all these like former soldiers and stuff because like Fort Campbell is the closest military base to Nashville,
Gotcha.
and they had restaurants. There's one in Nashville, but the one I was at was in Clarksville, and somebody who was supposed to sing couldn't sing, and then they reached out to somebody who was like a mutual friend, and he's like, hey, you're going to get a phone call from so and so, and they're going to ask you if you want to sing the national anthem. I was like, oh, sweet. And so I went, and like I couldn't fit into my uniform anymore. I can't fit in my uniform now. So I was like, ooh, what am I going to
Me
wear?
either.
Wearing a like a pink shirt or something, pink button up. And I remember standing up there and thinking, I've done this a million times. It's a minute and a half song. Who cares? No big deal, right? Veterans Day. I look up, huge flag flying, waving. We're in the front of the store, the restaurant, right? So there's like all these cars and stuff. And I look down, and there's like ex-soldiers of all ages. They look like early 20s, early mid 20s to like, I don't know, World War II or Korea
Right.
veterans. I don't know if World War II. I don't know how many World War II veterans are still alive, but it was like, Korea and Vietnam, and, looking around, it's like people of all ages, and they were like people just bawling. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I can't look at these people sing. And
Oh
so I'm
no.
like looking across the street and singing, and my voice cracked in the beginning because I was like, oh man, this is really super emotional. And so that was probably like, I don't know, probably 2018 or 2019.
Hmm.
And then we moved like in 2020, but I still get messages every now and then from the manager. It's like, hey, do you want to sing? And I'm like, hey, I moved to Mississippi. I'm not going to be able to make it up there.
Right.
But thanks for the invite. Oh
Right.
man, thanks for the invite.
Yeah,
So
it's such a poignant thing too. I think it's definitely harder to sing in front of a group of veterans because we all signed on the dotted line and
yeah,
know exactly what that means.
yeah, yeah,
So I think it's definitely
yeah.
a
And
different feeling.
it's like a different stage too, because like stage of life thing, because when I was active duty and I was singing at like award ceremonies and stuff like that, and like retirement ceremonies, you have people who are like in and and it's like, I don't know, it's just a different vibe, from some. I'm looking down there and I'm like, man, these people have been, people served like, 50 years ago or whatever it was, and
Right.
they're out here and they're all getting together with their buddies, who they served with, and it was just like, it was a lot. I was like, oh man, I'm praying, God, please don't let me break down while I'm singing a song. It's like, it's
Right.
just a minute and a half song. It's fine. It's just a minute and a half song. But woo, it was tough. It was really tough. Ooh. So, question: what is something that you're passionate about that you just want to share with everybody?
Passionate about. I'm passionate about student engagement for sure.
What does that mean?
So it's really difficult to stand in front of a classroom of students to start with, because some people have fear or anxiety of public speaking or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And not every instructor that comes here to learn how to be an instructor was a volunteer.
Oh yeah, you're voluntold.
So, right? And so you kind of have to take that student from the voluntold to I want to be here,
Yeah.
right? And the
Yeah.
only way to do that is with engagement.
Yeah.
Whether you're teaching in person or you're teaching online, which are two completely different things, mind you. I will
Yes.
say my first online class that I taught was so difficult, and I was so grateful to have another more seasoned instructor that sat behind me, because day 1, meeting 1, I was asking questions and it was like crickets. I'm like, "Is anyone there? Can someone put something in the chat?
Just-
Did you
I
guys just turn the Zoom
oh
on and walk
yeah.
away from the
Oh
computer? I don't
yeah.
Is
That's
anyone still here?"
yes. Yes.
And so I'm passionate about student engagement, and one of the ways that I'm trying to make that work is we are working student engagement and student-centered learning activities into our new course that I'm writing.
Mhm.
And so that new course goes live 1 April,
Oh, nice.
and it has 11,000 more activities than our previous course had. And so that's something I'm really proud of, is
Nice.
upping the student engagement.
Yeah, like online teaching is hard. I think I don't know, people who've never experienced that, who've never um been on the side that we've been on, like
Mhm.
instructing, may not like fully understand, fully grasp it. But so like I was telling you before we got on this call, I said, man, I should have saved that story for the call because because I had the same thing. It was like
Yeah,
like 220 people in my first training class. And like I said, nobody was on camera except for the one guy who came in late and then he decided to eat cereal with his mouth open. And so, and that was rough. I didn't even know where to like try to engage people because I would ask questions and there was like nothing. And I would tell them all the time, I say, hey, listen, in the beginning, I say, hey, these headphones are great. They deliver really good sound quality, but they're gaming headphones. And for some reason, if I don't get any sound in for 7 straight minutes, they just shut off. Bleep, and they shut off. I said, so if you want to, you can help me out by just coming off mute every now and then. And even if it's not interesting, just say, that's interesting. Just anything, right?
so that
And
my
so, like,
headphones don't turn off.
so my headphones don't turn off, right? And that was like, it become a game. But in that call, man, it's like nobody cared. They're like, I'm doing something else. I'm only here so that my boss will see that I'm here, right? And it was
Right.
like, oh my gosh, this is rough. Zero engagement. And I was like, man, I'm terrible at this. This is rough. And the class that was like, it was like supposed to be taught over an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I think I burned through it in less than an hour because there was zero engagement. And I'm like, I
Right.
don't even know if they're understanding what I'm saying. I don't even know if they even have this, software open. Do they even know what's going on? That was rough. But yeah, my lead at the time, he's like, yeah, we're gonna start you off with a smaller class. So then you can learn how to engage with people over Zoom. Because I mean, I'm an extrovert, so it's like, yeah, I'm going to engage with people. But then when they have their cameras off, oh my gosh, it's so hard.
Yeah, when you
And
can't see their faces, it really leaves you with a blank. And so I
yes.
started randomly just calling on people and saying, "And what do you think about that?"
Yeah, I've done that before too. And like people are like, wait, what was the question again? Hey, that's
Right,
fine. I'll start over now that
right,
we're having a conversation. Now I
right.
know, but then other people have gone like, oh, yeah, I really wasn't paying attention. I'm just kind of here and I'll just watch the recording later. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure,
Thanks.
okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, student engagement, that's huge. And to be able to like put out a product that like helps people, with that, that's great. I mean, yeah. I don't know what level of instructor that you would think I was if I were to teach a class to you. And I'm sure that you'd like grade me and be like, man, you are terrible. But I would definitely try to get you to engage and be like, me, speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think in person is much easier
Oh yeah.
because then you just have the students physically there with you and you can make eye contact and move around the room and see the confused faces
Oh
versus
yes. Yes.
versus, "Oh, I don't even have my camera on,"
Yeah.
or, you know, maybe I have my camera on and you can see my face, but I'm on mute the whole time and I'm not
Yeah.
saying anything. I'm being a non-participant.
Yeah. Yes. Non-participants. Oh man. Yeah, I had an opportunity to, when I was a trainer for this software thing called Alteryx, I went to a couple of clients, like on site to the client, and that was fun. Walking around the room, asking
Yeah,
questions, cracking jokes, showing them some concepts. Um, and then because you're like having conversations with these people all day, they're not afraid to ask you questions. But
right,
like on a call, like a Zoom call, I'm gonna call like hour and a half or 2 hours. And like people are like, well, I don't know. That's kind of a stupid question. I'm like, no, there's no such thing. Just ask the question. We'll get through it.
right.
So,
Right, because if you're thinking it, someone else is probably thinking it
oh yeah,
too.
oh yeah,
So, and your stupid question, that's not a stupid question, right? Can illuminate it for somebody else in a different way.
yeah,
So maybe they're going to get it
yeah,
because you asked that
definitely,
question, you know?
definitely, yeah. And I had to learn how to deliver the same message but in a different way. And that was like tough. No,
Yeah.
without like raising your voice. Don't raise your voice and say the exact same thing because then people are just gonna shut down. It's like
Right.
yeah, no,
This is
not
not motivational training. This is not basic training.
yeah,
This is not
pick them up,
TI.
put them down. Pick
Right,
them up,
right.
put them down. Oh, ooh,
None of that. Yeah.
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 Well, we're coming up to the end. Um, it's not quite an hour, but it's okay. I've had a great time talking to you.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad that you came in when Brian had to drop out. So it was cool. Good
Meant to
talking
be.
to you again.
Yeah.
And hopefully this could provide some encouragement to somebody who's like, yeah, I want to become an Air Force instructor. You know, connect
Right.
with I don't if you're open to it, have them connect with you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You could, post in the chat or whatever. Maybe not in the chat. It says you can't post to some destinations, but like go to the post and then like write your stuff in there. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
so yeah, and anybody who's like transitioning from the military to civilian life, you are not alone. I promise you're
No.
not alone. Sometimes it feels like it. Maybe the what was it called? TAP? I almost said gap. It's TAP, right? TAP,
TAP. Yeah.
TAP,
Transition
TPS.
program. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it feels like it's overwhelming. It's because it is. It's a lot
It
of
is.
information.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people out there who are so willing to help, just like even just walk you through things or like talk you through things or whatever the case may be. And then also don't forget, before you get out, to get connected to somebody to help you through your VA stuff, because man, that's some
That's a
stuff.
whole nother beast.
Yeah, that's a whole nother beast, definitely. But I'm going to end the stream here. Hopefully you guys will join us next week. I can't remember off the top of my head who's going to be the guest. It might be another veteran. But anyway, I'll post about it this week. And I'll just go ahead and end the stream. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.